My name is Josee Breton. I work for CRECA. And Audrey?
Yeah, and I'm Audrey Paquette, and I also work for CRECA.
Yes. Are you surprised? We've been wanting to work on this connectivity area for close to 2 years, and so we're super thankful for Peregrine Accelerator program to have allowed us to lay the foundation to our future work. So, is this going to work? It's going to work. So we're a small, not-for-profit, 8.5 staff, and we're based south of Quebec City in a region that spans 16,000 square kilometers. And we are accompanied by 2 amazing organizations as part of our newly created steering committee. So the 2 other regional environmental councils in Estrie and in Centre du Québec, and we're also very lucky to be supported by 2 wonderful collaborators, so NCC, and we have Marie-André Tougateli, which is with us today. Marie-André, just wave, please wave. And also the Wabanaki Nation, who are very, very solicited right now in Quebec because of all the government initiatives, and we hope that they will join us in our steering committee in the future. So we're an environmental, I can't even say it in English, we're a regional environmental council. There are 17 of us in Quebec, and our DNA is concertation. So I know it's not a word that you use very frequently in English, so we kind of drew it on a line for you. So it's not consultation, it's kind of between, it's not consultations, between consultation and co-creation. So basically, it's dialogue between all stakeholders, and we express our concerns, we express our thoughts around an issue, and then we consider various points of view, and ideally, we identify together the best course of action, which is in the general interest of the community. So that's really how we work, and throughout all of this process, this is how we approach our connectivity work. All right, Audrey?
Yeah, I'm gonna need the laser. All right. So before going deep into our project, I don't want to do a geography lessons, but just if you didn't know, so we work in the province of Quebec, which is here. We are approximately where the blue star is, and we can see that we are close to Maine, Vermont, and New Hampshire as of for the United States. The province of Quebec is divided in administrative regions, and so Chaudière-Appalaches is one. And we are the letter P on the map, and we also work with the other 2 organizations, which are D and F, which is Centre du Québec and Estrie. So just a nice map about connectivity and migration with climate change. So we are approximately where the yellow star is. So we can see that there is a projection for connectivity up north and also through the Appalachian Mountains. So for our study area, so this is a map of connectivity flow that was done by the Canadian government, who identify our area as one of the corridor of importance for connectivity. And it's pretty much a study who started our reflection as our 3 organization group, saying, well, maybe we need to work together on this. So we look further about the data, and also we knew that Maine and New Hampshire also identify these areas, corridors that go up through Canada for connectivity-wise. Some information to note, so in our area, we have the Appalachian Mountains, and also this is the St. Lawrence River. And so we have the St. Lawrence River lowlands, valley, sorry. And also on purple in the map, we can see the protected area we have. So with our steering committee, we started by talking and deciding where is the region of the high ecological that we need to focus on. So for preliminary connectivity area, it's in purple, the pink delimitation. And we can see, it's not super clear, but this is our Chaudière-Appalaches. The line is here, Centre du Québec is here, and Estrie is here. So the connectivity area goes really through the 3 regions and really at the limit of the both. And also often our extremes lines of our region, we don't work as much in it. Maybe that's why the natural areas are more of integrity and the connectivity is there. And if we add the core habitats that was identified on local levels, we see that there's a lot, there's a lot of forested area core habitats, more in the south and a little bit more on the north, but not as much in the center. If we do a quick zoom on the south, the south side, we see that we have a lot of forested area, and we also have some nice protected areas and national parks. We also have some few endangered species present, so we have the bald eagles and the little brown Mietsis bat. And in that area, the most important pressure is logging. So there's forestry, but because we have a lot of big forestry lands that a lot of is owned by one company, we have a lot of opportunity to work with them to get some actions in there. Also, one important information I forgot to say is that our area is 85% private lands. And for Sounds Quebec, we are at 99% private lands. So we really need to work on private owners to find some common grounds for conservation and connectivity. And most of the already protected area are on crown lands, so a lot of public lands are already conserved or are a lot used for other industries, so we really need to work on private lands. At the center, we already see our matrix changing a bit with more agricultural areas. We have some important space for salamander. Maple syrup industry, we have a lot throughout our old corridor, but this region is the most important place for the production international-wide. We also have some wind turbines, and there's continue in this area. And as you can see, we have some old mine sites. And in the St. Lawrence Valley, we have also some space of interest. So we have La Forêt La Seigneurie de la Binière with the wood turtle and a lot of open bogs since we are more in a valley. As for pressure, we have cranberry farms and agricultural fields are really active. And we have roads throughout our study area, but this is the biggest highway that cuts through and is an obstacle to connectivity. So just in brief summary, so all our area approximately is 9,100 square kilometers. We go through 3 admin regions, and it's the largest connectivity area in the St. Lawrence Valley and the Easternmost Passage connecting the Appalachian Forest to the Boreal Forest, which is north of the St. Lawrence River.
All right. Thank you. So this is our vision for our connectivity area. So engaging partners based also on pride from the communities for having such an important continental corridor, and also to make sure that nature is connected, used, and valued. Very important for us by citizens and then animals. So we're going to start off, of course, with doing a conservation plan. We want to mobilize local governments and other stakeholders around this connectivity in this area. Oh, there it is. How late was that in the presentation? Using the open standards for conservation. And on our long-term goals, we're going to start with restoring forest connectivity between core areas. And we're also going to consolidate long-term protection of core areas, as Audrey mentioned. So our objectives. This is a very text-heavy slide, so in case I forget how it sounds in English, then I can rely on my slide. But in our objectives, we want for stakeholders and citizens to understand the importance of connectivity for biodiversity. Underneath, you have different strategies that we plan on putting in place. I won't go through all of them, but the 30 by 30 is a big one because there's big momentum right now in Quebec to do so, and a lot of funding as well. And so we're keen on continuing to communicate around this important issue. I'll do all of that. The second one is to, in our conservation plan, prioritize action and entrust each of these actions to stakeholders. two elements I'd like to focus on. First, the second point, which is integrating connectivity area and municipal land use planning tools. Right now, municipalities are actually rethinking them. By law, they need to redo them, and they need to integrate connectivity. So it's a great moment in time to actually focus on that with them and to explain to them the importance of this corridor and to make sure that they plan to work with us on this in their land use planning tools already. And the last one is also, since we work with a lot of stakeholders in consultation, like we mentioned earlier, there are co-benefits to working on connectivity. And so we plan on focusing on those to garner their support and engagement and to actually adopting some of these actions. Right, and then lastly,
so one of our other objective is, so we identify some knowledge gaps that we had that we want to work on. There are preliminary, so we'll see how it goes. But we wanted to, so as you see, we had a lot of diversity in the matrix in our territory. We want to work mainly on forest connectivity, but we also had some questions about the importance of keeping that diversity in the matrix, especially when, as for example, we can have like fallow fields that might be, well, they are important, but like what's the equilibrium we want between those habitats and to reforest for forest connectivity. Also, we are missing some information about the roads and where are the key area that we want to put in place some actions to limit the impact of roads on connectivity. And yeah, maple syrup production, they can be problematic. They do, there's often low biodiversity on their farms, and because they are selecting maple trees, and there's almost no understory, so it could impact connectivity. But at the same time, it's it's an important subject that we can work on with them because conservation is hard with that industry, but connectivity is a good opportunity to work with them because they do keep their forest and they have canopy and stuff, so we could work together on it. And also, like I mentioned, in the south of our area, there's big forest producers, and they are FSC certified. So there's it's maybe an opportunity to work on connectivity with them. So our project is 2 years. So we want to work on engaging the stakeholders and also planning our conservation plan. So the first year will be mostly to think about and put in place a governance for the structure and to start our consultation workshop. So we want to do 2 in the first year with all the stakeholders to talk about the connectivity area, focal values, vision, etc. And also we want to have a strategy and communication plan to get those stakeholders on board and also to communicate the importance of the corridor to all the community in place. The second year, we'll continue our workshops, so another 2 workshops, so 3rd and 4th, and also will be the creation of the conservation plan. And also, a bonus will be to start thinking about which is the knowledge gaps we want to work on first and how we'll get there.
Okay, so up to now, 2 years later, how will we know we're on the path to success? Did I drop something important? I didn't. Okay, so stakeholders from the 3 administrative regions and from all sectors, so maple syrup industry, logging industry, recreational industry, are present at each of the co-creation and consultation workshops. Very important for us for buy-in. A majority of stakeholders identify actions they would be willing to commit to in implementing in their territory, and 75%, quite ambitious, of stakeholders recognize the corridor as being of continental importance at the end of those 2 years. So what are our needs for this? So we'll have a lot of organizations on board. There's a steering committee, and also we would like to onboard other organizations that are active in this corridor, very important for us. And so our goal, our short-time goal, is to raise $325,000 for 2 years to develop the conservation plan. This covers wages for the lead organization, the steering committee, the other partners and experts, and of course, overhead fees, et cetera, et cetera. So, merci, thank you, but before, let me speak of, if I still have time, we do. Wonderful. So other ongoing funding opportunities. So right now we have there's a new lightweight conservation status that is in development in Quebec, and we have a proposal that has been sent off that would cover a small part of the connectivity area to see if it would be possible to use this tool into enhancing conservation. There's also NCC that has told us they would support us by giving us $10,000 in order to lead for the first workshop that we'd be working on with all of the stakeholders. There are also other opportunities with La Fondation de la Faune du Québec to work on specific species. The issue with this is, and as other people has mentioned it, is that these are short-term funding opportunities targeted to different and specific actions. So it's really time-consuming to develop these proposals. It's time-consuming to actually faire la reddition de compte, fill in the reports at the end, and also it's really at this stage. It's not exactly what we need. We need to work on planning and on mobilizing people around this plan. So we're not at that stage yet. So those are our needs. I'd like to conclude by saying we're super excited to be working on this because we know how important it is. So we feel a kind of a responsibility to work on this connectivity area. But we're super keen, and we're seeing a lot of enthusiasm around this issue and around this very important work. And we're pretty hopeful. So thank you. Merci.
Really curious, as an American and watching things play out up north and having been involved somewhat with the federal ecological connectivity program, as has obviously NCC, curious what the forecast is, because that has been such a driving force behind funding for a lot of the connectivity work that we've seen take place in Quebec and other places. And I don't know if you guys have any sense of the future.
Yeah, I think Marie-Andrée would be best positioned to answer that. Is that okay with you?
So there's no news for now. So yeah, that's the short question. That's the short answer. But I think we're kind of lucky in Quebec because we have other provincial government funding from the provincial government. But at the national state, there's no good news for now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so in Quebec, there's Le Plan Nature, which has dedicated $650 million to conservation initiatives to reach the 30 by 30 goals. And we've seen a real boost in initiatives in the province thanks to that funding. It's a unique moment. We all know that funding has been really, really difficult in the province in the early 2000s, 1990s, anyway, for a while back. So this has been a really good moment to work on this work. Yeah.
And maybe if I can add quickly, it's not like funding opportunities, but in Quebec right now, the municipalities need to incorporate connectivity in their planning tools and land planning. So it's not associated with money, but they do need to put in place some, how they want to consider connectivity, but they need to do some things. And also the provincial government is working a lot on developing new tools to do some new protected areas, types of protected areas, so we'll be able to take advantage of that.
Do you know how that requirement for municipalities for connectivity came into place? I think it's something that I haven't heard of before, and municipal governments are an area of advocacy that is often really overlooked when people are thinking about doing this work. Was it a lobbying process, or any background on that would be great.
The ministry that works with the municipalities, right? Every 15 years, they publish some standards that supra-municipal governments, which we call MRC, Municipalité Régionale de Comté, need to meet. They need to meet these standards. And there was a review which was published a year and a half ago, which in these standards had different targets for protection of high ecological value sectors in their territory, and also for other measures tied to climate change, and also for connectivity. So this is new to them. They're not used to working on this issue, but given now that they have to meet these standards for their land planning's use to be accepted, then they have to, by law, to integrate it. So it's been great leverage for us. And how it works is that each municipality doesn't have the resources to do that work, but in our region, for example, these MRCs, they include between 13 and 23 municipalities, and so they have the expertise, and they've had the chance also to hire people that are have knowledge of this, and they can also how can I say, outsource all of this work as well.
Thank you very much for your, is this on?
It is.
Okay, for your presentation. You mentioned at one point, or it was in one of your slides, that one thing you hope to build into the plan is sort of stakeholder responsibility for undertaking parts of it. Who are you thinking about, and what do you want them to accomplish, if you know already?
Right. So I think we've mentioned some of these. I think a lot of stakeholders, they're not really into protected areas that much, but they find that connectivity is a way for them to act on conservation with tools that they do have. So I've noticed there's been we've noticed there's been an enthusiasm on working around that issue. So we find that I will give you an example. So farmers have a program which is called ALUS in Quebec, where they can plant some trees in order to have a corridor on their land, and they can actually be funded for this, right? So this kind of, all these micro programs, depending on which sector that you're in, which they can actually implement in their own sector. So that's what we've been looking at, to tailor each of our asks or discussions so that it's co-beneficial. And they have this leverage, and we feel that there's a real openness into acting on these issues. Yeah.
Yeah, I can continue to add. So Chaudière-Appalaches is a mostly conservative region. So a lot of stakeholders see connectivity as something they can do, and it's not as scary as protected areas. And also a lot of industry, there's some easy actions that they can do, or just how some forest owners already manage their land to favor connectivity, and they would like that recognition. So we also want to work with kind of the heritage of the territory, where some landowners already do a really good job for it.
Yeah, thank you so much for the presentation. I think I heard something, and so I'm going to try to paraphrase it and then throw it back to you with the question, which is, in thinking about your project, I think I heard you say one of the challenges you face is that you oftentimes get short-term project delivery funding, which is time-consuming and soaks up all of the capacity you have available. And the important work of developing sort of the higher level strategic connectivity planning at a landscape scale gets left on the side because the capacity isn't there to do it. And so as you think about, if I'm correct in hearing you say that, as you think about your project, how are you thinking about sort of articulating and speaking to that tension as you approach funders? And I think I would suggest that that's sort of an endemic challenge that we all face, and so really curious to hear how you all are thinking about that, and what we all can collectively sort of learn and think about, and making that case for sort of investing in the strategic groundwork that allows us to be more impactful over the long term moving forward. Thank you.
Well, That is a question, right? Is the question. So right now we've gotten to the point of developing our narrative to make sure people understand how important it is to work at this scale. And how we're going to go about funding this, we have no idea right now because we don't have the vehicles in order to do so. So it's just, that's the real answer. There's still some space for us to work very locally at each of our levels, right? Because there is connectivity work happening on a local scale. But to work on this larger scale is just something we're gonna put our heads in, put our heads to, yes, to try to figure it out together.
Thanks,
Right. Thank you. Wonderful crowd.